guys, this is Mark from Megacorp, and I'm going to give you combat in the W rule set in a nutshell. Now, I have two players set up here. This player which I am facing right now has a Corp Citizen, and these are the stats that he has, 2211 for its traits, and it has a Tavern. Now remember, Tavern is a location. A location can't make an attack, only characters can make attacks. And finally, he has a Incarnate Neonate, which has 2112. Now on the other side of the table, basically has a Shepherd Tree, which has 1 and 3. Notice that the Shepherd Tree has a dash in the red and white trait. That means it doesn't have these traits, okay? And it has a Mountain, which basically has only BQ, only green, doesn't have the other 3 traits. And finally, we have a Norse Layman, which has 1221 in its trait score. So how does combat work? Now, each player basically has a chance to have a combat phase during their turn. Let's say it's this player's turn, and this is how you start combat. First, I select my first attacker. Now, only characters can make attacks, and they have to do them one by one. So I'm going to choose this character to attack the player. So what I'm doing is that to declare an attack, I choose the attacker, I choose the color which I'm attacking with. In fact, I would like to attack with white, with MQ, this white, which is only a score of 1. So I make an attack, and I attack the player. Now this player has a chance to declare his blockers. Now, if he basically chooses not to block, he immediately gets dealt 1 point of damage. And no matter what color of damage is dealt to a player, they just get dealt that amount of damage. For example, this is 1 white damage. This player would just discard a card from the top of his deck. If he gets dealt 2 points of damage, he'll discard 2 cards and so on. Okay, that's how damage is treated to players. Now, supposing he wants to block, what happens? Can he block with the Shepherd Tree? He can't, because Shepherd Tree doesn't have white. You know, it doesn't have a sense of morality, so it can't block a white attack. So this one basically has the Mountain only has BQ, so it can't block white either. However, he does have the Norse Layman, which has 2 points in white. So what happens here? So this character is declared as a blocker for the Norse Layman. So this character, the Norse Layman, has 2 white, and the Corp Citizen has 1 white. What happens is that she deals 1 point of white to him, and he retaliates. That means hits back and deals 2 points of white back to him. So he gets dealt 1 point of damage. That means he's now down to 1 white. This card is dead because it gets dealt damage equal to its trait score. And now the attack continues. That's right. Each character is declared as an attacker 1 by 1. So this player can continue to make attacks with this one character because this card is also a character, and decides to basically attack the player again with, this time is going to attack with a white score. Now, the same color as the other one. Makes an attack, and can this player block with the Norse Layman again? No, he cannot. Why? Because characters can only block once a turn. There's a special ability called Reflexes that allow you to block an infinite number of times. But in this case, the damage goes through, and that player basically discards a card from his deck because he gets dealt a point of damage. Okay, so let's rewind that. Let's say that he didn't attack with white, but instead chooses to block, attack with the 2 points of blue. Now this character has already blocked, so he cannot block again. However, now this player can decide to block with the Shepherd Tree, which has a 1 blue. So he declares the Shepherd Tree as a blocker. The Shepherd Tree dies, and the attack is blocked. Now let's try that in another way. Supposing instead of targeting the player, I want to target the Shepherd Tree. That's right, you can target cards as opposed to a player. You can target basically any card except yourself. So you make an attack of 2 blue towards the Shepherd Tree. Now what happens here? The player can voluntarily take the damage to keep his Shepherd Tree alive. In that case, he discards 2 cards. 1, 2, to basically soak the damage. So essentially what happens is the player declares himself as a blocker. The one thing that's different here is that players can block an infinite number of times. I mean, you're not really blocking, you're just taking the damage on behalf of cards. Okay, so that's how combat works. Just remember the simple walkthrough. Cards can attack, only characters can attack, only characters can retaliate. If I attacked with BQ, for instance, if I attacked with 2 green and attack the player, I can defend with the mountain, which has a value of 8, that's very high. But does the mountain deal 8 points of damage back? No, it does not, because only characters retaliate. That means they hit back. A mountain is an inanimate object. So is a location, equipment, anything which is not a character essentially does not retaliate. Okay, so you choose an attacker, you choose the color, you make an attack one by one, you choose whether you want to attack a card or attack a player. And the player can block for cards, and cards can block for cards, and cards can block for players. Okay, so that should be pretty clear. And cards which are engaged cannot make an attack, obviously, because they are busy.